Hey everyone, it's Jill, and as promised, today we're kicking off our series on programming and the factors you should be considering when you're choosing titles for your ensemble to perform. The first topic at hand is difficulty level, and as you know, when you're choosing, often titles are listed with a grade number or letters, and they'll say grade 1, grade 2, medium easy, medium advanced, but you can't always trust what's written on the front of the package. Because those levels are set by publishers and not an overarching body, they can vary from publisher to publisher. So one publisher's grade 2 might be another's grade 2.5 or even 3. Therefore, my advice is always to check out the score online or order a perusal copy so that you can check it out yourself. And here are the things that I look for when I'm reading through a perusal score before I set it in front of my ensemble. Number one consideration is to take a look through and look at the ranges, especially when you're dealing with younger groups. Sometimes your brass players, they can hit a high F if they're a trumpet player, but they can't play up there for 8 measures. So that's an important thing to consider. Ranges for woodwinds even, sometimes the students can play up there, but is it going to be in tune? So I always take a look and see how high and how low it goes and how long it stays there. Number 2 is the scoring. For younger players and singers, a lot of times it can be better if there are blocked sections where everybody's singing the same rhythm or playing the same rhythm at the same time. And if there's a lot of independent entrances or cutoffs, that can make for tricky rehearsing. Maybe your group can handle some of that, and how much is up to you. Along with that, for instrumental groups especially, is cross-scoring or cross-cueing to see, if you don't have a very strong horn section, if it's cross-cued in the altos, things like that. Number 3 consideration is harmonies, particularly for brass players and singers. If a lot of the harmonies are very close and tight-knit, then it can be a little bit harder to hear for developing students. So for younger groups, maybe you want to pick something with more open harmonies that are easier to hear. And then as students get older, they can handle more and more types of those close harmonies. Number 3 is the key signature and the meter. If they have played in those keys or meters before, great. If they haven't and they're new, that's not going to stop me from programming it, but I have to think about how I'm going to prepare the students for those keys and or meters. And that's going to take some time in the classroom if we need to learn a new one. Lastly, there are always a few special considerations that will vary depending on the type of ensemble you're working with. So if you're a band director, maybe you're wondering if the second clarinet part is going to stay below the break. If you're an orchestra director, maybe you're wondering if your first violins are going to have to shift into third position. If you're a choir director, maybe you're wondering if there are going to be divises in parts that are strong enough to handle them, or if there are solos that you need to cover. So keep those in mind as well when you're programming for your individual ensemble. Keeping all these things in mind at once will really help you decide where you want to go with your program and what you want your students to learn. And I recommend only pushing the students on a couple of these items, not all at once. So that means maybe if you're playing something in a new meter, you play it in a familiar key. Or if you're playing something with difficult harmonies, then you keep the ranges easy. So that way your students can feel successful in some measures and still continue their growth in others. So that's it on difficulty level. Always check your scores to make sure it's appropriate for your ensemble before you commit. That's it for today. We'll catch you next time when we're going to be talking about audience.